Hi, I'm Marler. Today, your friendly neighborhood movie reviewer and relationship counselor would like to refute an opinion that I have found on the internet. It has come to my attention that certain movie reviewers and their followers believe that the Bechdel test is the test of whether a movie is a feminist movie or not. That means that if a movie passes the Bechdel test, then it is a feminist movie, and if it fails the Bechdel test, then it is not a feminist movie. This is the thesis with which I would like to disagree by proposing two examples of many movies which I will argue are feminist movies, though they do not pass the Bechdel test. First of all, for those who don't know, this is something that most of us heard of a few months ago when it became kind of headline news that some movie theater in Sweden or somewhere had decided to give their movies an A rating for feminism if and only if they passed the Bechdel test. And for one thing, isn't it kind of weird that a policy decision by a small business in Northern Europe became national news in the U.S.? That's kind of surprising to me. But this did spark a lot of conversation and a lot of discussion, and that's a good thing. For one thing, it opened my eyes to the fact that there are so many movies that fail, and it's a very easy thing. A movie passes the Bechdel test if it has two named female characters who have a conversation with each other about something other than a man. And it's really kind of eye-opening, the fact that most movies don't meet these simple criteria. If you were to reverse this, every movie passes the reverse Bechdel test, every movie you can think of. And it really opens your eyes to the fact that there's such a lack of female characters in movies. All movies you can think of, majority characters are male characters. Majority interesting characters are male characters. The male characters are more interesting, have more stuff to do. Why is this? Well, because all the writers and directors and everybody involved in the process is men. That's probably why. And why is that? I don't think it's because the patriarchy is trying to keep female writers down. I don't think that's it, because I was at the last patriarchy policy meeting. I was the chairperson, actually, and the men there who wanted to keep women out of leadership and writing roles were actually a minority. Most of us in the patriarchy would like to see more female writers in Hollywood. They could make more interesting stories because they're the only ones who know how to write female characters properly. But anyway, so I propose that a movie, in fact, can be a feminist movie, even if it doesn't pass this. So although it is an interesting test and worthy of discussion, and it is sad that most movies don't pass the Bechdel test, I don't think it is the criterion for a movie to be a feminist movie. A movie is a feminist movie if it has at least one strong female character who is interesting and speaks for herself and makes decisions for herself and others, and is in a leadership position, I would say. Even if it fails the Bechdel test, one female character who's like that could make a movie a feminist movie. Imagine if you reversed it. Imagine you could have a movie that fails the reverse Bechdel test. That is, it only has one man and a whole bunch of women, but that one man could be the most interesting and most exciting and most noteworthy person in the movie. He could be the protagonist, while all the women are just objects for his pleasure. You wouldn't say that this is a feminist movie because it has mostly women. No, you would say this is an anti-feminist movie because it has mostly women and only one man. But the man is main and the women are below. So it's kind of a ridiculous hypothetical, but in the same way, just because a movie passes or does not pass the Bechdel test doesn't mean that it's a feminist movie. The movie 300, I believe, is a feminist movie, even though there's only one named chick character. And I can't remember her name, actually, but she is the Queen of Sparta. And for starters, you can see, like, early on in the movie, there's a scene where the King of Sparta is talking to his son, and he's like, "Hey, son, blah, 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 blah. Good talk, son." And then the Queen of Sparta, she chimes in and is like, "Yes, but blah, 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 blah." So here she is talking, speaking her mind, even in an intimate father-son moment, and then later the King of Sparta is talking to his wife, and they're talking to each other, and he's treating her like an equal, and then the emissary of where was that country? And then the emissary of Persia comes, and they're and they're walking along, and the emissary of Persia is like, well, I can't believe you let your woman speak. Why are you letting women speak here? And the guy, he could have been like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Or he could have been like, hey, shut up, you douche. Women are allowed to speak here. No, he didn't have to say anything because the Queen of Sparta herself, she chimed in and said, blah, 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 totally dissing your country and everything. And the emissary was just like, and he had to deal with it. Okay? So Queen of Sparta is speaking her mind, standing up for herself. And then the most important part, so the King of Sparta is like, the emissary of Persia is being kind of a douche, so I'm going to kill him. He draws his sword, and he's like, you should have watched what you said, Here, everybody is responsible for his word. And then he looks over at his wife. He's like, wife? And she looks back at him, and she's like, and then Sparta kicks him into the big hole, and he dies. So, essentially, the Queen of Sparta gave the final approval for the King of Sparta to kill the emissary of Persia. Queen of Sparta, making Queen of Sparta essentially the most powerful person in the Spartan government, and therefore the most powerful person in the movie. Does that not qualify 300 as a feminist film? And then while the King of Sparta is off dying and killing people and dying some more, Queen of Sparta is ruling the city-state all by herself, like a total boss. And then we got the sequel, 300, the one that just came out. Spoiler alert, Queen of Sparta is in this one again. This time the King of Sparta isn't even in the movie. Queen of Sparta is ruling the city-state all by herself, making decisions, making important policy decisions, talking to high government leaders from the other city-states and saying, we will give our support. No, we won't give our support. I'm going to send these people into battle or not. I'm not consulting with anyone. I'm the Queen of Sparta. There's no one above me right now. And the villain in the movie, the main movie and the villain. Alright, so here we have a movie with two named female characters. I don't think they talk to each other, so it fails the Bechdel test. But the main villain is a woman. Hey, powerful, strong. Isn't that, I don't know, is it feminist to have the villain be a woman? I think so. Especially when she invites the hero to come to her ship, and they come to this ship, and then she initiates sex with him. That's feminist, isn't it? You're having sex with whom you want on your own terms. Chicks in the dominant position. And then they switch it up, and now the guy's in the dominant position. And then they switch it up again, and the chick's in the dominant position. They end like that. Powerful, powerful female figure. So both 300 movies. And those are just two examples of movies which I would say are feminist movies, even though they fail the Bechdel test. There could be others. So, do you agree? Can you make a case that the Bechdel test really is the 100% definitive test of whether a movie is a feminist movie or not? Do you have a counter argument? Do you think the 300 movies are not feminist arguments? Do you like my tie? I like it. Rate, review, subscribe. This is Marler for Marler's Movie Reviews and Relationship Advice.